Today we're going to be talking about tires, so you can find out what are the disadvantages and advantages of running low profile tires, and also how do you know the correct tire pressure to put when you go and put pressure at the filling station, and also just understanding what all the markings on the sidewall of your tires mean. So let's start with the first and the most common thing that you need to know about your tire, which is the tire size. So when you go out to buy brand new tires or even used tires, you want to know what the size of your tire is, and that's given to you by this number right here. So this tire size is 275 35 ZR19. So what this basically means is that this tire on the first numbers here is 275 millimeters wide. So that's the width of your tire when you look at it like this. So this is 275 millimeters from this side to this side. And then the next thing you have is your 35, which is the aspect ratio, and that's basically calculated as the height of your tire divided by the width of your tire in millimeters. So that's given as 35 there. ZR, which means this tire has been built to run at speeds higher than 240 kilometers an hour. Then the 19 here is the size of the rim that can fit here. So this tire can only fit a 19-inch rim through there, and that's what the 19 means. Another very important thing you need to know is this 100Y right here, 100 being the weight that this tire can carry. That's normally given to you on the sidewall. If you look, not there, it's down here. So if you look down here, it's upside down, but you can see that there it says 800 kgs. So that's the maximum load that this tire can carry. And then Y is basically a measure of the speed that this tire is rated for, the maximum speed that this tire is rated for. So Y, I think, being the highest number you can get. I'll put the chart here for you guys to see. This tire is able to do up to 300 kilometers an hour with no issues. So unless you drive a Bugatti, I think that covers pretty much every car that you can try to put this tire on. So when you go out and you buy used tires, another very important thing that you need to look out for, because a lot of people just like to look for the tread pattern. They look and say, oh, the tread pattern is okay. Some even get excited when they see these little things right here. They say, oh wow, this tire is pretty much new, no one has used it. But the thing that you need to check is this number right here, which is the date when the tire was manufactured. So these four numbers right here, basically the first two numbers mean this is the 48th week of 2023 when the tire was manufactured and basically shipped out. So a key thing that you need to remember is don't buy tires that are more than 5 years old. And that's because tires are made of natural rubber material. It's part of their construction. So natural rubber does break down over time. So if you get yourself a tire that is more than 5 years old, you risk it having dry rot and cracking, and all sorts of things can happen to just the structural integrity of the tire if you get a tire that's more than 5 years old. So when you're going out to buy used tires, don't just look at the tread and say, oh, the tread is good, it's got all these little things that show that this tire is pretty much new. Look for the date and make sure that you're not getting a tire that's more than 5 years old, because that would be a tire that will be structurally sound, and also the natural rubber hasn't degraded on the tire. So let me show you guys how you can get the correct tire pressure for your car. So the first thing you need to do is come to the driver's door. Most Japanese vehicles and most cars in general will come with this little sticker right here. I know this one is in Japanese, but let me quickly show you how to translate this. Basically, this measurement is done in kPa. You can see the kPa right there. Some cars will come with PSI, but you can convert either of them just through Google. You just Google kPa to PSI or PSI to kPa. So for this car, it's actually supposed to have, these are the tire sizes that are recommended for this car. So you can go 16 inches, 195 55 16, or you can have a 15-inch tire, which is 185 65 R17. And then this figure right here is the maximum or recommended, or rather recommended press for the tire that you get on this car. This also is for the 16s. This is the tire pressure that is recommended for this car. Normally what I've seen people do is they get to a filling station, and I don't know who created this default setting for Zambians, but it's like any Toyota that comes to the filling station is going to get 40 psi or 45 psi put into the tire. And if you come with low profile tires, people will normally put like a 50 or 55. Nobody really checks these things. But take a look at this. Let me just rotate this tire right here. All right, so you have this max press figure right here, which is 340 kPa or 50 psi for this tire. But the problem is, if you just go ahead and put 50 psi in this tire, it doesn't allow for the expansion of, you know, the air that you're putting in here. If you were running nitrogen in your tires, nitrogen is less sensitive to you know, changes in temperature. So even if you put 50 psi, it will be able to maintain that 50 psi no matter what the driving conditions are. But because we put air into the system, air is very volatile, so it fluctuates, it expands with, you know, changes in temperature. So a car that's parked like this can hold 50 psi, but the moment that you start driving, and then again you're driving in hot weather for a very long period of time, the air inside the tire starts to expand. And once the air in the tire starts to expand, you go beyond this 50 psi, and that's what ends up causing, you know, some tires to explode. And even more sensitive tires like snow tires. I know a lot of people complain about snow tires exploding randomly and stuff like that. It's because of things like this. People go and put the maximum, you know, pressure that's recommended on the tire, and then they go for a long drive, or even if you just leave it sitting there, there's still going to be a change in temperature if you know, have a hot enough climate where you are. And obviously in Zambia it does get pretty hot, so you need to remember that you can't just go and put the 50 psi. Normally, if you don't have that sticker on the door, I would go about 10 psi less. So for example, on this tire, if it says the max press is 50 psi, I'll go and put, you know, 40 psi, so that you leave that 10 psi as that extra room for, you know, the expansion of your air. And that just makes sure that you don't have a problem with this thing, you know, over expanding and ending up with a situation where the tire might even blow up. So then the question comes in, what are some of the disadvantages and advantages of running low profile tires? So basically, low profile tires make your car a little bit more stable than your regular tires. Regular tires are made for comfort, so you find that they have a bigger sidewall that has much softer material, so they're designed to, you know, take bumps much better and just give you a smoother turning experience as well, because the sidewall here doesn't fluctuate as much. But when you get low profile tires, the ride becomes much more stiffer, and the sidewall as well is very hard. So when you're taking quick turns right and left, the tire doesn't flex, and that gives you a much better steering response when you're using low profile tires. But the biggest disadvantage with low profile tires is obviously, since you don't have a lot of material here on the sidewall, if you get into a situation where you go ahead and hit a pothole, then the likelihood of this thing, you know, getting completely cut, or even your rim getting completely damaged, is much higher when you're using low profile tires. And also just the driving comfort, if you decide to go off-road, even if it's just gravel, your suspension will take a lot of the impact more than you would get if you had like a tire with a thicker sidewall, which is normally what these kinds of cars come with. So it puts a lot more stress on your suspension system, and yeah, you end up with a tire that you really have to be conscious when you're driving on the road. So you don't want to hit any potholes and, you know, hit curbs and stuff like that, because you risk either damaging the tire or damaging the rim itself. All right, so that's all I had to share with you guys about tires. So obviously, if you want to have your tires replaced, or you've got some questions that, you know, you want answered, or you've got some fixes that you want on your tires, you can definitely bring your car down here to TrueNext, which is Z Gear HQ, and yeah, we'll be able to sort that out for you, get them balanced, get you the right fitment of tires that you need for your car. And I hope that somebody learned something from this. If you did, leave a like, follow, and share this video. Thanks guys, I'll see you on the next one.